Today, I'm going to talk about pricing your products and services if you are a holistic or spiritual business, and some of the common myths that are around about charging, and sometimes maybe things that we don't think about when we are charging our products and services. So I'm going to mention some common things that I've heard through the years of what people say to me in relation to charging, and why I believe some of those are just myths and they're not always coming from maybe the healthiest perspective when you're running your business, and how certain other people's ideas about pricing can actually be detrimental to your business. So first of all, before I even go, I have to add that pricing has always been a thing that I've had challenges over, for a variety of reasons. First of all, as someone who is a strong caregiver and as an altruist, I always want to give rather than always, equate things to what I really should be charging. And I have to be honest, most of my life I've actually charged far less for things than what it costs me to learn, which is what, it's the more and more that I've went through the years, it's been a learning process about how much then sometimes people don't always value then, because you're not valuing yourself, and because you're creating this enabling where you're trying to help them, but by them not actually paying for something that is very valuable and something that you've invested highly in. Sometimes there's not an equal exchange energy. But anyway, one of the big things that many people are facing at the moment is that they're finding, particularly if you have I have a lot of students and clients who have, for example, clinics and spas and things, and they're finding a dramatic increase in their, for example, maybe the rent or the rates or whatever, but also the bills, particularly like electricity and gas and things. And a lot of them are in a situation where at the moment they are trying to gauge it, because sometimes they have clients who are having certain financial issues themselves. And, it can be a tricky thing when you are trying to still create a business, stay afloat, and build a business that is going to have a constant cash flow and, and be in profit during a time of what we call high inflation, right? So that is a present issue. I think it's important to go back to, first of all, what pricing really should be based on, and understanding different things like perceived value. So first of all, what you have to consider when you're on any type of business, no matter if it's a holistic or spiritual business, when you are creating your price points, your price point has to cover the costings that it costs you to run that product and service. And the easiest way I can explain it is, so my father ran a manufacturing business, and he started very small when we were young, and it was very, very small on a small scale, and he built it up. As he built it up, his outgoings became far more. His outgoings dramatically increased because he had to hire on more staff. He had to bring in systems and, different computer systems. And through the years, as things modernized, actually his outgoings would be far more. Now, yeah, of course, he may be selling a lot more products. But for example, if you run a clinic or a spa, You don't just have your wages, you have maybe wages of staff, you have other outgoings, like all your outgoings in relation to your rent, your product, your marketing, your advertising, all the other things that you need on a daily or weekly basis. And even that can include your setup costs, right? And that's one basic, if you don't look at all of these costings and you don't actually sit down and see what you need to charge as well, right? That is one of the biggest areas where people make a big mistake, because you have to be able to look at what you need to charge. And you obviously have to look at what people are willing to invest. And every single business has a different audience. It doesn't matter if you, for example, are a beauty therapist and you do Reiki, and your friend is a beauty therapist and they do Reiki. You're actually two different people, and you have, in many ways, will attract different audiences. Now, there can be some people that can be similar, but at your core, you are different. And it can depend on where your clinic is. It could depend on how you style your clinic, how you deliver your products and services. Because, for example, we all know that you can go along a main street and you can see, say, for example, hairdressers, right? And one hairdressing place can look really high-end, high-classy, very tasteful, and then you go along and another one that's just cheap and cheerful, right? It's like basic. Now, the reality is both of them have different perceived value. Now, you might find in the cheap and cheerful one that actually there is a better hairdresser, and she is actually better than the elite, the more elite, or the more upgraded, or whatever you call it, more modern and hairdressing, right? And it can perceive, but often if something looks really cheap and cheerful, right, and you're coming in, you're sitting in a basic chair and it's not that comfy, the environment's not that nice. The reality is, no matter if we like it or not, in the modern world, people are buying not just the products and service, but the experience of how that product and service is delivered. So one clinic, for example, or hairdressing might give their staff, their clients, when they come in, tea and a biscuit, right? They might give some extras, and they might have extra things there that are just a little soft touches that makes the experience make them feel more special, and all these things. And actually, if we look at the lover archetype, the brand archetype, the lover archetype, sometimes called as the romantic archetype, are very much great at really making their audience feel special. And they're often great at creating a very sometimes seductive but really beautiful environment for their audience, of their clients. So they tend to be able to offer more prestige. They're good at that. They naturally have got an eye. They naturally know the small things, what to do that will make their clients feel so much more comfortable. And they tend to be able to pull off, a lot of times, higher quality brands, or brands that have a much deeper connection and really make their audience feel really adored or special, right? Other brands, they're about something completely different, right? So that just gives you an example. And for example, in the past, I used to invest in a lot of things like aromatherapy, bodywork, massage, and I knew so many. I mean, I know hundreds and hundreds of therapists in my local area, and then obviously I know loads of healers and therapists just in this industry. And when you're investing in people, there's all sorts of experiences you have. And I've turned up and paid the same amount of money to someone for a massage treatment that what I would pay in a spa, and I've turned up and their towels and their plinth was old and raggy, and they were really good at what they'd done, but they did not take care in the environment and to provide that, you know, that things were nice and felt comfortable for the client, maybe in a cold room, or maybe in a, even in an outside kind of, what do they call them, not a shed, like a you know, an outbuilding that's not really that comfortable. Products and services, when you sell a product and service, no matter what you're selling something that there is a demand for, right? There is a need for, and that people are willing to buy. And that's the basic principles of a business. Many people come into the holistic and spiritual field, and because they think that they believe that they're coming from a place of purpose and passion, many can come in very naive and believe that the client should just come to them, right? And that because they're doing a vacation, that it should be really, everything should be easy, and the client should just come to them and it should be easy to make money. But the reality is, most people in the world are doing a job and they feel that that's part of their purpose. And yeah, some people can be in jobs they don't really like, but they still feel as if they have a purpose. And just because we're light workers, or we're holistic and spiritual, it doesn't make us different in the respect of that we are more valuable than them. Of course, the more that we're aligned with what we're doing, and the more we understand the audience in what we're doing. But the reality is that your price point has to consider a lot of things. And I talk about this a lot. It doesn't matter if you're selling a yoga class, if you're doing meditation, if you're doing Reiki, you're doing all these things. People are often not just buying that. They might be buying more of your expertise, other knowledge that you have, your level of the solution that you offer for them, and any extras. And as I've said before, I would easily pay someone, if I go to a spiritual teacher, I'm looking for example, experience, depth of knowledge, and a level of maybe awakening or spiritual understanding that I don't have, right, in some area that they can help me with, right? And the price point I'm willing to pay is in relation to what I believe is their value, right? And you've got to understand that it's your audience's perceived value. And sometimes, of course, it's about educating your audience. And sometimes you know who your audience is, but they don't understand the perceived value, and it's about educating them, right? Because, for example, I've went to I don't know how many healers, and I work with so many healers, and it's not any disrespect, but every healer is at a different level and has different gifts and an ability to channel and bring through a different aspect. And depending on what problem that client has and what help they need, each, the healer that's right for them is going to be, it could be very different, and it depends on where they're on in their path and what they're actually expecting and looking for. And I've spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds in 1 hour a session with someone and been really happy because what they gave me was phenomenal. But I've also been charged that amount of money, and it was absolutely really nothing much, and really didn't really get anything from it. So it's always about what the consumer is going to perceive, right? But it's all about solution. And if you're not clear on what solution that you solve and what that is worth to your audience, you're going to struggle, first of all. So there's a thing called perceived value, and perceived value is one of the most important things in business. And of course, when I started out in healing, and when I started getting Reiki about 32 years ago, did I understand the difference with different types of healing modalities? Did I understand the difference of different healers? No, I didn't, right? So my first experience, I was like, oh, wow, right? And then as I went on my journey, and then it was wow, and all these kind of things, right? But it's like, Sometimes I have new clients who've never experienced certain things, so they don't know the difference. It's the same as if they invest in me for marketing or business, right? Sometimes they have no idea the perceived value because they have never worked with someone before and they don't know what to expect and what level of depth of knowledge and insight that someone has. Most of them don't have a clue in what the tens of thousands of pounds that I've invested in my own spiritual journey and even learning marketing and branding. They don't have that concept because they're coming in with certain awareness. And unless I can educate them and help them see that, actually, sometimes it takes people to go elsewhere and experience something and realize then that something isn't of the same quality. And that's the hard part. One of the biggest challenges that many holistic and spiritual practitioners sometimes have is knowing what clients actually need and what they believe they need. And that can be completely different. So sometimes what you want to sell them and what you know is going to be what they really need is not what they're ready to buy and sell. And this is where it gets a bit tricky, right? And I can know that most businesses, there's lots of things that they haven't got the basics right, but sometimes they can go 3, 4, 5 years and still not any further forward and even struggle to get any clients. And it's because they've not took diligence to get some of the basics right. But they still keep going and trying to go, and their partner is maybe providing for them, or they've got another job, it's providing for them. Someone else is cushioning their income so they can keep making those mistakes. And they're not looking and they're not willing to look at the issue. And one common one is, for example, I've had so many people say to me, no, I know how aligned I am. I'm really, really aligned. And I'm just going to show up and the clients are going to come. The amount of people that I know that have tried to run events like that and never succeeded, right? And been really disappointed. And they've kept trying to do that and doing that. But there is key things. And then it's not to so many years later, then they come back and they come in as a client because they've learned the hard way. They've learned the hard way that they've not done things, right? And then they value what you do. But it's the more that we can understand and educate our audience why your product and service is perfect for them, that is when you can price it at a point that, you know, you've got a good, healthy pricing and you're not undervaluing you. But if you go and you just say, if you look at, for example, if you start looking through Facebook and say, all right, okay, I do this type of work, and someone seems to be doing something like that as well, I'm just going to price the same point. First of all, you're not understanding what you're offering, and you're not understanding what your client is, because they're going to have different clients. It's, for example, I do sole purpose work. I've got loads of sole purpose work in from other people. And some of it is like the most basic things that doesn't even, you know, maybe just turns out someone says, oh, you should be a healer, but you're already a healer, and there's nothing, or they may say something very vague, right? And then you get other things that's really deep and helps you align and helps you grow. Again, each of that is a completely different value, but it's also going to be value and have a different value to different people. So you could have 100 people that look at that product and service, and if it's vague and it implies that it's going to give someone, some people might think, oh, right, okay, that's going to give me blah, blah, and blah. And then some people might think, it's just going to give them this, this, and this. It's important that you are really focused on who that product and service is perfect for. And it's also important to know who it might not be perfect for. So, for example, if you're offering something for a basic level where someone struggles, you want to make sure that you're not attracting clients that already have those basics but are looking for something deeper. But if you're selling something really, really deep and more advanced, of course, you're targeting a different market, but also the perceived value is much more. For example, if you have a modality that can cut through and solve someone's problem far quicker than other modalities. In many ways, that's far more valuable, and particularly if it's permanent. So if you solve a problem for someone in a permanent way very quickly, right, that perceived value is much more, because what you're doing is someone may have to go to a therapist 4 or 5 times to get the results that you get in maybe one session, right? Many healers say to me, but I can't guarantee, or I don't know what I solve. But if you don't know what you solve, you don't know your zone of genius, you don't know your skills well enough, and you don't know where your gifts are, right? And it's important that you work on that and you start to see, right, what am I really good at, right? What is, or even is, what is each client, what's the one common denominator that every client says they experience after certain sessions, right? There's lots of things to do with perceived value, so other than it just being your modality or the class you're offering, right, the service you're offering that you have, right? So as I said that, so it could be, so it's, for example, you can invest in a coach, right, and a spiritual coach, a life coach. Every single one of them have completely different value in relation to the training that they have, the teaching, the level of awareness, awakening, insight, and also core values in relation to the consumer. So I might invest in someone because of one area that's really, really important to me. So one of the things that over the last few years is when I've invested in spiritual teachers, I got to a stage in my life that it's not about the niceness. I want someone that's spiritual truth and is not about BS and is really awakened and aware and can really stretch me, right? I might have, when I first started out my journey, I want someone that's polite and soft and whatever that, but I'm at a stage where I feel as if, particularly what we're getting in this level of evolution, I need to be really strong for my clients, and I need to be really robust and be able to help them in a really strong way. And that's helped me, and it's also helped me tap into more my masculine energy that I always struggled with, right? So it's understanding, and these people that I'm working with hold their power, hold their sovereignty, and own their worth, because they tend to be people that have really, really invested in themselves and worked, again, they've made it a huge part of their life. But where I was 30 years ago, I was a different type of client, right? And what I was expecting, and also what I could afford or what I was willing to value or invest in. Now, I invest about 20 to 25% of my income in my spirituality, right? And also in my health. And there's a wee bit more to my health. And that'll give you an idea. Now, I don't invest in lots of other things. That's a big thing to me, but that's not going to be everybody's sort of thing. Now, through an inflation, your products and services, the more that you understand what clients really crave, right, and what is really going to be important to them through an inflation, a period of inflation, or a period of challenging circumstances, when you understand what your audience really, really want and really need, and you can also, if you know that there's something they really need, and it's about educating them why they need this and why it's going to make a huge difference to life. So when you are working out your products and services, you're working your pricing, it's about looking at what is the most valuable of what you're offering. Look at and think, right, what do I have that is the most valuable, right? And what are my clients willing to pay? Look at high value. Look at what you have that is high value, and think of the audience that will buy that high value product, right? I know that there is some people that are in a situation at the moment, they know that they want to create lower end products for people. Now, my advice to you, if you're going to do that, is do digital products and services. That is why I create lots of digital products and services, because I can cater for people at a different audience, right? And I also give freebies, but I also recognise that there's lots of clients, just like usual expense, will be clients that say, I cannot afford to do this. But some of that cannot afford it's not real truth. It's not coming from a place of honesty. It's about what they choose to spend their money on, right? And sometimes people do, they try and get things for a reduced rate, or they try and get it just for free for the sake of freeness. And sometimes people have a distorted perception of what should be free and which shouldn't. But the reality is it's about focusing on who does value what you do, right? And it's about focusing on understanding what makes you different, and understand what about your products and services, what increases its value, because sometimes we don't see it. We're so close to it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about perceived value. So I can do discovery sessions with people, and people say, I can't afford you, but the next thing they're going out and they're buying a fancy candle, a fancy chair, or something luxurious for the business. But they're not getting any clients, and they're not investing in anything that may double or triple their income, right? And sometimes we all do. I've invested in things over the last few years, and I've had to, there's a lot of work I've not been able to do because I've been prioritizing other things that's been going on personally in my family life. And it meant that there were some things that I invested in that weren't really a great investment, and I invested in other services that weren't cost effective for me, right? And sometimes we buy things and we have to re-look at, right, okay, is this making me money or is it losing me money, right? And when you are selling something, you are selling a solution, right? And it's easy to forget that we're selling a solution, because when you're running a passion-based business, it can be easy to more get into the playful aspect of it and a child aspect for it, and treat it like a hobby rather than look at it as a business or look at it as an equal exchange. I've had quite a few things happen last year and this year, beginning of this year, and I thought, I need to be more bolder, and I have to stop being, and I talked about it in that service, where so much service to others, where there's people are not being respectful and people are not valuing, where because I'm being the enabler. And it's important when you do your price points that you're doing that as well, because I'll give you an example. I have a friend who is an amazing holistic therapist. She's not really been doing much last couple of years, just for a variety of reasons, but she was, most of my family went to her, and I went to her for loads of things, a very thorough therapist who, like me, trained in many, many disciplines, completely dedicated to what she did. So it was really important for her to always learn. Her charging was so low. Most of my family would comment and she was too low. Now, she believed that she was helping other people. And I could see it because I'm very similar to her that way, that you want to help other people, and she felt lots of people couldn't afford. But in the same village or town, someone was charging double what she was charging, but she was like phenomenal compared to this other person and what they were offering. She had far more experience, she had other tools and things that gave her, when she was doing this particular modality, she could do it far more efficiently and far more effectively because of her other knowledge and expertise. But she was charging less than half than this person, right? Now, even if she talked about people not affording and how people were income support. I lived off income support a big part of my life, and I still managed. Yeah, it was really difficult, but there were certain things that I was willing to make the sacrifice to get things. And yeah, there were certain times I didn't afford certain things, but often the times that I couldn't afford was also related to because of someone else selling me a product or service that wasn't right for me, and me investing in something that was misaligned or being missold. So then I had no money to invest in the right products and services, right? And of course, we can want to help others, and there's ways that we can do things to help others, right? And one example is, I remember when I first got sick and I went to a guy who came, Cameron Cunningham, who became, it was an amazing teacher for me, and he was very forward thinking, and that would be at least 30 years ago. And I remember him asking me what my income was, and he'd found out how much I'd already invested in what I'd invested, and he really kindly gave me a real discount on my services. And what he explained was, it wasn't just, it was because of the services. He knew what I had to invest in vitamins and supplements and things to try and remove some of the mercury poison and other things that were in my system. And he knew it was not going to be a long haul. And I was so deeply grateful. I didn't ask. I've never asked for a discount. I never ever asked for a discount. But he had the awareness and insight to know what I'd already tried, and he knew that I was obviously not working, and I was young at the time. I didn't have enough stamps to have certain benefits, and he kindly, now I am grateful for that man for forever, but also I sent a lot of people to, I did what I could, and I absorbed everything I could. And it's the reason sometimes I do sort of, some things I choose to give a lot of things, and there's some things I do other give to clients for free, but it's choosing wisely. But you cannot give for free, or you cannot do the things that you want to do for free if then you're not charging for certain things in your business, and you're not valuing your business, and you don't know what makes your product or service unique, if you do not know what makes it high value, and also if you do not know who your ideal clients are. And you cannot charge, if your ideal client match is someone that is not going to pay premium prices, you're not going to be able to charge premium prices. And sometimes it's about looking at your business from a different perspective. And of course, it's about what you believe you're worth at the core of all this. If you do not believe that you're worth something, you're going to find it really hard to attract and to be solid in your pricing. And if you're someone at the moment who's saying, I know I need to put my prices up, I know I'm worth more, but I'm struggling, my tip to you is to start small and start bringing it up in small increments, right? Because when someone tells you to double your prices or to do something, but it doesn't feel in alignment, then you know what you're going to feed back. You're going to get back a lot of resistance. You're going to get back things. One of the best things that I did when I went out as a contractor, and I really struggled with pricing because I was just so, because of my level of poverty, I was so disconnected from what people were charging for things. I was very disconnected. I knew what I invested myself in my own training, but I had a big disconnect with, and I had trauma related to pricing. So what I've done was I just started to do things slowly, and it became less stressful. It became less, and then I get more confident about adding more and more and more. When people tried to push me at those stages to double or whatever, it felt too uncomfortable. It felt traumatic, and I was getting into the freeze response, right? I was in a group, I joined a group, I think it would be last week or a couple of weeks ago, it might be actually a couple of weeks ago, a group, and I was quite, I watched with curiosity a coach. She wasn't very experienced, right, but she was an older woman going on about that she believes in not just 10 times or like charging double what you're used to charging, but charging, like she's a coach, 10 or 50 times. And I actually I really couldn't believe what I was hearing, because she was just more or less saying that, you know, if you charge that amount and you only need 1 or 2 clients a week, and that's you. And that's what you do. You just get high end, and you just, whatever you're charging them now, that's basically what she was saying, right? And that, to me, that's just insanity, because I know, and I know a lot of you will have this experience where you've invested in someone who thinks they have a certain value, or thinks their products and services have a certain value, and you've got very little value from it. I remember buying Maybe about 8 years ago, I invested in a marketing. Now, I obviously knew a lot about marketing, a marketing coach, and I assumed the way she talked about herself, that she really knew how to be confident and sell herself, and she could do this and do that. And I remember giving her £2,000 like that, and it was the biggest waste of money I ever made. Biggest waste of money. She just talked a whole load of crap, and she didn't do anything that benefited my business or helped me in any way. It was just an absolute, she didn't know what she was doing. And that was a big mistake. Now, I'll have to be honest, my gut did, but it was my ego. And at the time, I was looking for someone else just to help solve a solution. I wasn't using my intuition, and I fell for the illusion that we can all fall for, right? Every single one of you will have your secret sauce, will have your zone of genius that is extremely powerful in your business. It's extremely valuable, right? And when you understand what is really valuable in your business, right? Or what is your zone of genius? That is what you build on, and that's what you start being known for, right? Some of you may be in a business that you're not really aligned with what you do yet. You've not really found your purpose. You may like holistic, or you like spiritual products. You may be starting on your journey, but you've not really quite found your zone yet. And yeah, that can be the hard part, but the thing is, it's evolving. Often things sometimes take time to evolve, but the key is still within that, looking at where your areas of genius are. I found out quite quickly mine was teaching. Now, is that my total soul mission and my soul purpose? No. Actually, a lot of the clients I end up attracting, I help them awaken more. I help them evolve more. And that's really part of, deep down, that's more part of my mission. And it's helping people, but it just, they arrive to me through either the business or marketing, or they arrive to me through the training, my training. So, but my mission can be something, because I'm helping them achieve something else, helping them achieve more in alignment in their purpose. But at the end of the day, the tools that I use and the way that they end up finding me or coming across me is through my other skills, right? But it's so important, no matter what, that we understand what we're about, and we understand what we're bringing to the table. If you don't understand what you're bringing to the table, when you, no matter if you're offering Reiki, you're offering some sort of holistic, no matter if you're intuitive, no matter if you're a psychic artist, no matter if you're a coach, a teacher, if you don't understand what makes you unique, it can be hard to value your products and services. But also, if you're trying to be something you're not, we cannot be everything, and we're not everything. We cannot possibly be everything. And sometimes people think they have to, if you're a spiritual teacher, a psychic teacher, that you have to be able to teach people everything, and you have to be able to channel everything. If people tell you that, run, because that's definitely not. None of us know all. None of us. We all have unique gifts. But your products and services are all about being in alignment with your audience, right? And if your audience at this point don't really value it, it's about looking and saying, are they your clients? Are they really your clients? Or do they just not understand what you're actually offering? Of course, sometimes they need warmed up, and sometimes they need to be built trust, and some things need bigger trust than others. But it's also important that people understand that your audience, sometimes your audience, a large part of your audience is not your ideal clients. So you can have lots of people on your pages, you can have people in your groups, but it doesn't automatically equate that they're all your audience. Your audience is only the people that are going to actually invest, right? Even if it can be 10 years down the line, but if there's someone who's never going to invest, or expects things for free, or they don't value themselves, at that point, they're not your audience. But there's also people who just go into, for example, follow people for all sorts of reasons, or they get into groups. And sometimes people automatically think if you've got a group, that everybody in that group is your audience. They can potentially be your audience, but it doesn't mean they're always an exact match for so many reasons. And sometimes it's about, in your business, really recognizing that your job is to focus on the ones that are your clients, and is a matched ethically, to do with core values and alignment and what you're offering and how you're offering it. Because, you know, sometimes it's not just about your offering, it's how you offer it and how you deliver it that's actually important to that audience. It's, for example, if I invest in a course now, I expect a certain quality of that course and I expect it to be delivered in a certain quality way. I'm really disappointed if someone just hands me a piece of paper and it's like a dog's dinner and it's not, you know, on a platform and it's not done properly. Everybody's different, but that's because of what I invest and my own and what I give to my audience. So it's understanding where your audience is at, what they expect, and what they are going to perceive as high value, right? And high value can mean different things to different people. So the more that you understand your audience and understand yourself, and that's why, again, I go back to brand archetypes, because if you understand what your brand archetype is, you understand some of the key elements of the core values of your ideal clients and what they will think is good, what's important in relation to their perceived value. Because sometimes people, it's the experience of not just having a luxury experience, it might be experience of being able to be someone that's going to hold a space and help open them up. Someone else, it might be their perceived value is just feeling as if they belong. Another, someone's high perceived value is that they really trusted you. That's more important. Or they listened to. There's so many facets to this. And the more that you understand yourself in your business, that is when you start kind of increase your offering your pricing, because what you're doing is you're owning your value. And when you own your value, that emanates out to your audience, because when you own your value, you start helping your audience own and recognize your value. Okay, so I hope that helps. Joy, I want to get in, get my hair cut and get out again. Right, okay, so obviously, Joy, in relation to that, you have a certain perception of what you want out of that, and so you are a certain type of client. So this is a really good example, Joy, of where you're not really bothered about having the nice, relaxing experience and just relaxing in the hairdresser. Some other people, that's what they want. So this is where it's really, really important. So working with psychologists is stretching people, and we're seeing profound results. Yes, exactly. And it's you knowing who those people are and who's going to value that and understand, you know. So this is the key. It's always understanding that every single one of us, when we look at products and services, we can see the benefits in some ways, right? Because we've had the benefits, but we've got to understand that that doesn't automatically equate that other people are going to recognize those values, believe it, or even be attracted to that, right? So everything stretches people in different ways, but it's understanding the clients that are going to want to be stretched in that way by you and by that way, right? So this is where it's really, the more that you can understand what you're about, the type of person that you are, the brand, the energy, your insights, your awareness, how you think. Because often, particularly when you're doing spiritual work, if you're some sort of spiritual mentor, or teacher, or guide, your audience will have similar core values, alignments, and views than what you have, right? If they don't, they're not going to really be attracted, and they're maybe not going to feel that that's going to stretch them, because unless it's something where you're more open than up to something that they're not opened up to yet. So, but I like the the thing about the haircut, because that's why we're all different. And so, you know, someone that's a hairdresser that said that, you know, someone that can get people out and in like you, Joy, you know, someone advertising like, you know, you're in for 30 minutes, I'll have you out in 30 minutes. And for someone who's not got a lot of time and can't be bothered sitting about, that's a huge selling point. You know, I'll get you in and out in 30 minutes, right? And you get the haircut you want, kind of thing, right? Now, that might not be everybody else's cup of tea, but that's a niche market. And this is why it's so important that you understand your niche. I have so many, I mean, because I know so many healers and holistic therapists and spiritual teachers because I work, a lot of people are always trying to get me on their courses. And I can recognize the high value of all these amazing courses, but I don't have time to go on everybody's courses. And it's about prioritizing. It's also what I feel I need at that point, and what I really am attracted to that point. And this is what is so important, is the more that we understand what we offer, what's unique about what we offer, and the clients that really need that, the clients that will extremely benefit from that, right? And understanding all the things that make your particular product and service specific for that audience. And the good thing about it is when you have good marketing, you're also helping people that it's not perfect for, you're not wasting their time. The last thing I want to do is, see, when I'm trying to find out information about people, I go to their about page and then I go, and there's nothing about them. There's hardly anything. There's no background, you know, and I'm sitting scrolling through their pages, trying to scroll through maybe videos to get insight. Are they the person that I need or want? The more quickly that you can, in your branding and your marketing, help people understand what makes you different and understand why certain things are this value, right? It makes it easier and you're not wasting people's time. But going back to your products and services charging, just remember that no matter what you're even taught by a training school, one of the things that I hear is people saying, well, we've been told to charge the price, everybody's to charge the same price. And that's insanity. For example, if you have a clinic in London, you can imagine what the rent that you're paying if you're in the city of London and what that costs. And you're going to charge the same amount per hour for clients that what someone is in a little village or doing it in their home. I mean, that's absolutely insanity, right? Just like when people do not sit and think about all the costs and that required to make that product or service a certain quality. It's like, even when I do my accredited training is extremely cheap compared to what anybody would do in that type of course. There's so much in it. But I know how important it is a quality platform. If people are going to learn from me, I want them to make sure that it's a professional platform they're on. And it took me over a year to do all the content for that course. And then for years, I've added more to it and upgraded some of it. But as someone who values good quality education and who's a trainer and an educator, I want my audience not just to learn things, but to be able to learn it in a way that is easy on the eye, is easy for them to do. And if I'm charging a certain price point, I believe that that's what people should be getting. But that is how I work my business. That's how my core values in my business work. You'll be different. Your audience will be different, and your audience's expectations will be different. And that's what it's all about. Okay, so anyway, everyone, have a lovely day, and thank you for anyone who watches this. It will get loaded on YouTube as well, so take care, everyone. Bye.